Hi everyone, on today's show we have Mohawk Matt with us. Matt, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, in between like the cities of Mission Hills and Sun Valley. I like to say lower, like, you know, right below middle class. Mm-hmm. Both my parents were working. My mom worked at the phone company. My dad was retired Air Force. They were good parents. I was involved in sports, and like my parents gave me everything a kid could want, and I kind of found my way into trouble growing up. Like I played sports and I was good at soccer and baseball. Competed with my brother, who was always better than me at both sports.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I got one brother. His name's Mark. Uh-huh. He don't really mess with me no more. But he's just holding resentments through what I went through growing up, and I understand. But I got into like graffiti at a really young age. I was one of like one white boys that grew up with a lot of Mexicans in my area, mm-hmm. and I blended into that culture really quick growing up.
Yeah. Did you have a tagger name?
Yeah, I did.
What was it?
I was Effects. I was from, growing up in the 90s, a lot of people don't know, but graffiti crews were really, they were everywhere. And I was, back then,
still out there
yeah,
now.
they are. It was trendy to be from like 5 at one time. It was okay, unlike a gang.
Yeah.
And I was always getting picked up because as a white kid trying to impress all the homies around me, not to toot my own horn, but I was pretty good, and I was active. I mean, I would chase buses down. I was a very big, what they would call a street bomber. I got into not an argument, but like a political debate on a graffiti platform, because in graffiti world, there's a difference in types of graffiti. You have the artists and the graffiti artists, which are amazing. No disrespect, they're awesome. I can't do what they do. But I was in a different class. I chased buses. I would hit freeways all night long. I was just a street tagger. Okay. And those worlds were kind of blended but separated at the same time. And I got really, really involved, actively involved. And I was, like it became my life, my passion. Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to your brother and your relationship, is there something that you see, maybe you reaching out to him, trying to...
I've tried. My brother's a little different. He's just different. Like, I don't want to say disconnected, but I guess he is. He's just not like he holds a grudge for stuff that I've gone through growing up, and I've tried reaching out. He's just he just does his own thing.
Like he's mad at you for the fact that the choices that you made? He's
mad for the choices I made, my drug addiction, what I put my parents through. Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff I did to him, I stole from him when I was young and in my addiction. Okay. Stole from him. We've gotten in fights. I remember I stole from one of his girlfriends one time. I was on drugs, and there's no excuse for it. I've said I'm sorry, but he doesn't. And I've tried to prove to him with my behavior and my changes, but it's still not good enough for him, and it's okay.
It'll eventually work out.
I mean, it may be. If not, one of the things I had to learn in getting sober was sometimes some people have a right to not let it go. That's true. That's your choice. That's everyone's choice. You don't have to let it go. Yeah. Some of the damage we do echoes throughout life to where you don't necessarily have to let it go, and I have to respect that.
True. That's true. So back to your parents.
Yeah.
How was your relationship with them growing up?
My relationship with my mom was always good. I was a mama's boy. My mom loved me like most moms love their sons. I was closer to my mom. My brother was closer to my dad. My dad, I was constantly trying to impress him and get his attention. My brother was always a little bit better at me than sports. Mm-hmm. I was always like a notch below him. So my dad clung to him because my dad was more of a sports guy. I was more the artistic, eccentric, fashion interested kid, which is why I led into graffiti. Okay. And my mom was always on my team. I did nothing wrong. She always enabled me, always helped me, gave me everything I wanted without telling me no. My dad was always rougher on me because he didn't like what it was doing to me. Yeah. And lo and behold, as I've grown up, I've had to scream so much that my dad was right. When you become a man, you realize, damn, my dad was right, man. Everything he said makes so much sense right now. Yeah. Not that my mom was wrong. She was just doing the best she could for me, but she loved me too much.
She was being a mom.
She was being a mom, like every mom does. But my dad was seeing what she couldn't see, which was, hey, this is going to affect him later. Be rough on him.
You know,
knock it off.
I know what you mean, because Crook is like that with our boys, and he's
never Crook.
No,
is he really?
No, and I love the fact that he actually stepped in and was like, "This is what we have to do," because you're right. The dad sees what the mom chooses.
It's two different dynamics. You guys both complete up both sides of a coin, and it needs to be. And it's not that I used to think, well, my dad doesn't love me. It's like, no. And he recently he's been able to tell me with all my changes, you're finally who I always wanted you to be and always thought you could be. And that was amazing. But I can see what he was saying now. Wow, he wasn't being a dick. He was trying to help me so I'm not in prison, on drugs, on the streets. Everything he was trying to tell me wasn't to be a dick. He was really trying to help me, which is what a guy is supposed to do for his son.
But you don't understand that.
Back then I didn't see it. I just thought he was being a dick to me. And so what did I do? I lashed out.
At what age did you start doing your own thing, like out in the streets?
Well, probably 13, 14.
Really?
Graffiti was really prominent. Maybe 12, 13 is when graffiti, and I was active all throughout, close to my late teens too. But the graffiti in the 90s, as I'm sure a lot of people know, quickly enmeshed with gangs real quick.
Oh, yeah.
All of that stuff that went on through the jail system overflowed on the streets, and all of us kids, white boys or not, if you're involved in big graffiti crews, you have a choice to walk away, stay graffitiing and not have any protection, or you join whatever gang those crews decide to click up with.
Back in the days, they made it a little harder for you to decide because it was either you're going to join or you're going to join.
Yeah.
Because they were just like, well, if you don't join, we're going to fuck you up and we're going to make sure.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a catch-22. You either join or you're getting beat up every day. And a lot of the times, like my neighborhood was pretty cool. We were not that big and established yet. But a lot of the other gangs, like San Fernando, Pacoima, the crews that were in those cities, they would jump you in and not give you a choice. They wouldn't let you have a choice. They're jumping you in and they're like, hey, you're from Pacoima now, you're from San Fernando, handle it. But if you're not here with us on the block, well, then you're getting checked. So it's like a catch-22. You're screwed. So eventually a lot of us, at least in the San Fernando Valley area, our crews were smaller than like LA. LA crews, a lot of them were big enough to, some of them established their own neighborhoods on their own with their own crews. Yeah. But in the Valley, none of us were really big enough. We all had to enmesh with the local gangs, as we did.
At what age did your parents adopt you?
Geez, I want to say I was an infant. I was like, no offense, but I was like right out of the vagina. I think my mom had it set up. She was on a waiting list. They were actively waiting to have a child. Yeah. And I don't remember which one of them had the issue where they couldn't have, but my mom and my dad were on like a waiting list, and my mother that had me gave me immediately over to my parents.
Is that something that happened with your brother as well?
Yeah, they adopted both of us, from two different families.
Are you older than him?
Yeah, I'm 2 years older.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, so that never affected anything?
You know, I don't think it has. I've always loved my mom. My mom has been my best friend. Not only my best friend, but my supporter, my backbone. Yeah. I don't think it's ever affected me. People have tried to tell me, well, maybe it does. Maybe that's some of your issues. And I try to search for it and I don't really see it. And I've respected my mom for what I put her through so much that people are always also encouraging me to go find your real mom. Go. And I'm like, I would never disrespect my mom for everything I put her through. Yeah. God, Lord, I put my best friend through hell and back. The fact that she still talks to me today is a miracle.
Well, you got to understand, when people really care for you, they're willing to ride with you through all your phases. Yeah.
And I experienced that with her.
Yeah. And you're right, when it comes down to your brother, there's people that are just like set on their decision. Yeah. That's it. There's no, it's either black or white. Yeah. But that's good that you have that relationship with your best friend and your mom.
So because of that, I never wanted to look for my real mom. In my eyes, I kind of also rationalized it with, well, I have the facts. We have all the adoption paperwork. My mom has always, ever since I was a kid, I can remember, she always let me know, you were adopted. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean nothing. I'm still your mom. I have my genealogy, so I know my cultural heritage. Mm-hmm. And I've also known that, I guess the only thing I know about my real mother was that she was very young. Like we're talking 13 or 14, I think, maybe 14, and she did not know who the father was, I think. So it was a good situation.
Do you think it would have made a difference in maybe the way you handled that truth if your parents would have had a child of their own, like an actual child, and then adopted you? Because I know sometimes some people, they're like, well, because they treated me different because I'm not.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, maybe I have heard of that happening where one of the siblings is adopted, the other one's not. So the other one, it makes them think they're not wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. My parents were so involved with me and my brother that it's insane to even think about that. Mm-hmm. You can look, thinking of my parents and the history we have and everything I've put them through. Like, you can tell they wanted children. Like, they were made for children, and they didn't. Just for some reason, God decided to do this with their lives. But
when you started. I want to say going into the darker version of your life. Mm-hmm. Was that something that happened because you were just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna lash out? Or
No, I hate to say this. I mean, I don't hate to say it because it's my truth. I was just one of those middle class, lower to middle class white kids from the Valley who watched Boys in the Hood one too many times, and New Jack City, if you're old enough to remember that. I liked graffiti. Graffiti was a step before gangs. Like we all knew was already evolving on the streets, and I was just drawn to it. I don't have the excuse of I was poor, I'm from the projects, I grew up in the hood with the homies. I was always on the cusp of the hood.
something that you just wanted to do?
I was drawn to it. Graffiti was the opening, and then watching all these movies in the 80s, growing up with it, I was drawn to it. You know what I mean? And it was just an easy transition. It was an easy transition from the graffiti to us joining my neighborhood and then moving from there.
When at what point did your son come into the picture? At what point did you?
Oh geez, so he's 23. So what is that? 2000, maybe two.
Was this before the gangs and the?
No, I was already involved. I had already. I always just so you know, I always graffitied. Even when I was from my neighborhood, I still kept graffitiing on the side.
Okay.
But when I was from my gang and I was actively selling drugs, I had just started a drug addiction. Is when I hooked up with his mom, and it was one of those things where I met her at a party. We rushed into a room, 5 minutes in and out, bad for both of us. Kid was born from it. You know what I mean? And then I disappeared. I didn't even know she was pregnant for like 4 years. She found me we were at Magic Mountain getting in line. Me and my new girlfriend were getting on a ride, like log jammer or stuff, I forget what it was. And she, oh my gosh, she started screaming and crying. Oh my God, I've been looking for you. You have a son with me.
She saw you there.
Yeah, and I was like, shut up, you're right. I don't even really remember who she was. Yeah.
You're like, who the fuck?
And then lo and behold, this girl is now, I'm seeing her every week when I'm at the barbershop getting a fade. And she's there, and I'm like, oh my God. Now she's like, for some reason, that's why I think God is weird sometimes. When he needs you to know something, he makes sure you know. And this girl, for some reason, after that, every week she's somewhere. I'm at Walmart, Target, wherever, shopping, she's there like, oh my God, constantly trying to talk to me. And I'm like, get out of here, you're lying, you're full of shit.
How did that affect you?
It made me feel like shit, and it made me feel curious, it made me feel scared. A lot of stuff, sad. I mean, but the biggest thing is, and I say this a lot, I was actively involved in gangs. I had evolved into a very prominent role in my neighborhood, and there was no room in my life for that kid.
Yeah.
I would have, and in fact, when we finally agreed, and I tried for a couple years having my son, I remember the day when I decided to walk away because I had a gun in his diaper bag, and I'm dropping him off to daycare, and I dropped this little boy out, and he looks just like me, blue eyes, no tattoo. I mean, just a little cool, little blonde-haired white boy with some attitude. And I dropped him off at daycare, and I'm interested in flirting with the girls at the daycare center. And I remember coming back to the car and seeing my gun was sitting out of his diaper bag. I'm like, damn, what am I doing? This kid's cool, and he doesn't have a chance. He doesn't have a choice. I need him, and he needs to be away from me. I am not in a position where I need to be around this child. Yeah. And I remember going to jail or something, and I was smoking crack cocaine, selling drugs, and actively gangbanging. I mean, I'm talking like and my neighborhood had a green light. So we were in the midst of a war on the streets in the valley. We were getting hit from every angle from all these gangs. And I'm thinking, damn, my son could be in the car, he could be in the front seat. I'm selling drugs. My drug addiction is at the same time building. Yeah. Crack cocaine was big in the early 90s. At least in our area, it was huge. All of my homeboys, all the top gunners and hitters in my hood were slowly but surely getting hooked on crack. Yeah. My neighborhood, from fighting a green light good, was diminishing and deteriorating throughout this process. This war is, we're all smoking crack, trying to pretend we're still tough. Yeah. My drug dealing is dwindling because I'm selling my own drugs, and the profits are now going to buy crack in hotel rooms and scandalous behavior. And I have a son at this time, and I'm just like, I remember going to jail or something, and she contacted me. And my kid's mom was great. She's always been like a really cool chick, Jennifer, and never sweated me, never tried to get my money. She just would always say, I just want you to be his dad. I don't care. Yeah. If you have an addiction, let's fix it. She would always tell me that. Never tried to get back together with me either. Like, she's one of those girls that just never sweated. Would have been a better homie if we never hooked up. And she never hit me for child support. So one day she finally comes to the realization when I'm going to jail and I'm getting ready to go to prison. She goes, you're not going to stop all this. She hit me with paperwork and she said, listen, just sign your rights away. Let him be free. She goes, I met this really cool dude. Man, I could cry thinking about this. She goes, I met this really cool dude and he wants to adopt him. He'll marry me and adopt him. And she goes, just let him be free. She goes, I'm tired of trying to tell him about you. And she did it but I love, she's cool, I couldn't be mad at her because, and I'm like, you're right. And I knew it. I remember the diaper bag, and I remember I remember I had a Glock 9mm sitting out of the diaper bag. I can still see it with the diapers and the little diaper rash ointment, you know what I mean, and the wipes. And I said, yeah, all right, give me the paperwork. She gave me the paperwork, and I signed it, and I never looked back.
Do you have a relationship with your son now?
Recently, in the past year and a half, or maybe 2 years, I've started to message him on Instagram. I don't have his phone number yet, but he follows me on Instagram, and he watches me. I've sent him some clothing from my company.
Nice.
He wears it. He goes out. He rides dirt bikes. Dude, this kid has a brand new Jeep Wrangler. He works for the studios. Him and his mom. Well, his mom works for Star Wagons. So whenever there's a movie or a video, they're the company that uses the trailers for all the stars to rest in between sets. And he drives these trailers.
Does he know that was the case?
I've tried to explain it, and I've said it on another podcast, and he watched it. And he messaged me and told me he watched it. But I still, I keep trying to ask him, I have to respect his boundaries. And all I do is every now and then I hit him up, and we watch each other's stories. And lately we've talked a little bit, and he's mentioned wanting a tattoo, and he knows I'm connected in that industry. And we've set it up for him when he's ready. We're going to do it at our Sullen headquarters, the tattoo mecca. And we're going to have one of the world famous artists come give him his he wants a samurai. So we're going to get him a samurai tattoo. And I keep asking him, I wait in between messages. I don't overload him. Hey, when you're ready, I still want to have that talk with you. Maybe get some coffee or some food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's responded one time. I remember he said something like, "You're not my dad. You made me." And he goes, "I'm aware of everything, and I understand it. And it's been enough time to where I'm hoping we get that conversation, because it's one thing to hear it, but it's one thing for him to actually understand it from my point of view."
How do you think you're going to feel at the moment? Because I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
I hope so.
The moment that you actually get to see him. Because you haven't seen him face to face, have you?
No, just on Instagram and stuff like that, yeah.
How do you think you're going to?
I'm going to be nervous. I'm probably more scared than him, He looks just like me. It's crazy. I watch his pictures. He looks just like me. Take the tattoos off his face. Yeah, he's got I think he's got a girlfriend. He's got a cool little life, too. And he dresses like I did back then, too. It's amazing. It's weird how that happens, yeah.
So the fact that all that happened with you signing off the rights to your son, then you ended up in jail, or how did that?
I ended up in jail. I'd been in jail a few times before that, but then I started really doing jail time. I've done 3 terms, total of 19 and a half years, something like that. 3 years and 6 months, home for 90 days, back to prison for 3 years and 8 months, home for 98, I think it was 96 or 98 days. And then I caught my big case. I was sentenced to 9 years. I did 12 and a half.
No shit.
Yeah. Yep. I was one of those kids that, I've said this before, I was into graffiti. My graffiti crew joined a gang. I love my neighborhood. I love my homeboys. I've been to war with those dudes. I will always love them. But I didn't really want to be a gang member. We did it because we thought we had to. And it's something that's always stuck in my head. And like I said, I did good with it, but eventually jail came. And when you're in jail, that's a whole nother angle of issues, politics, rules, racial issues, drugs.
Were you in juvenile hall and then went to jail?
I did juvenile hall a bunch of times.
Okay, so when you transitioned from juvenile hall onto actual prison, how was that for you mentally?
Well, I had a break from the juvenile system. I was out for a long time committing crime, doing drugs and gangs, and the difference in the systems is a clusterfuck in itself, because in juvenile hall it's on site with your enemies. You fight your enemies, whether you're a tagger. I was just still a tagger in juvenile hall. So you can fight your enemies without no politics involved, and it's on site. You have to. But you also make some friends. That began my networking, so to speak, because when you hit the streets again and you hit the county system, you'll always bump into some of those homies you were in the juvenile system with, and it's nice to have friends like that. And juvenile hall is not really that racist either, or racially divided. Until you hit the county jail, like my first time in counties, when you're hit with the whole, I don't care what anybody says, how tough you are, killer, gangster, if you ain't scared that first time you hit the county jail, I mean, maybe not if you're in your 40s when you hit it, but I was 18 in a day. And that was a horrible, overwhelming experience to be a white boy from a gang. Recently jumped into a gang a few years before that, to hitting the county system. Gang has a green light. I don't really understand what's going on. The movement from tank to processing to sleeping to using of facilities with other men, it was overwhelming. And I got hit with the question, what race are you when I hit the 9,500 floor? And I've shared this a bunch of times. I mean, I'm white.
Yeah.
I grew up with Mexicans, love them. I love them like my own people, but I am a white boy and I'm never gonna deny that.
Yeah.
And I hit that county jail. When they asked me what race I was, my homeboys were still, my gang was under a green light, but they were not that politically connected. We were still establishing our bones on the streets.
Okay.
So my answer is I'm a white boy. Okay, get over here. It's usually that quick. You're a homie, okay, over here with us. Crip, blood, over here. Other, get over there with all the others. I'm a white boy, boom. And mind you, there's like 6 of us in a dorm full of like 1,000 people. Oh, or maybe, I forget what the number was in the 9,500 back then, but it was a lot. And I immediately started my journey that way. And I've never had an issue with it. Some people do, I don't care. It's my story. I stayed with the whites in the jail system, and it was a long haul when you hit the prison. So from the county jail to prison, to reception, to prison, you go through constant changes of rules and regulations and what you do and what you don't do, who you're around. This group's good, this group's bad. It's constantly changing. And when you hit, and then from reception to prison, that's when it really starts. And that's when you realize this is like really, really serious. Did
you start noticing that it was affecting you mentally while you were in there or until you got out?
I think it started affecting me when I hit the county jail because again, like I'm a white boy that grew up with Mexicans. I never thought I'd have to deal with all these different choices and changes. It was always easy on the street.
Yeah.
And then you have like serious consequences based on a choice you make. Some of my homeboys are mad at me because I chose this. Why didn't I stay here? Why did I do this? The whites are looking down on me because, well, when they find out, yeah, you're white. Whoa, you're from a Mexican gang. What's up, man? You traitor. So I'm going through all this while trying to stand my ground and explain things. And then you realize when you get to the joint, hey, check it out. I'm a white boy. I don't got to explain shit to you, dog. If you got a problem, handle it. You get to that mindset, and that's dangerous too. So yeah, prison was long, and I turned a 9-year sentence into 12 years and 6 months because when I went to the joint, I had already decided to sign away my rights, no son. I figured I was angry. Now back then, 9 years to me seemed like I got a life sentence. True. 9 years really isn't that long in the spectrum of it. It is, but yeah, but when I was there, I was like, oh, that's it, life's over, fuck it. I'm going balls to the wall. I'm going full on. And I got involved with the whites as heavily as I could. My plan was to stay there. I had no intentions of coming out. I did everything. I raised my hand. I got involved as much as I could. I got the tattoos, all that nonsense. And it was a long journey, a bumpy ride, a very bumpy ride.
So how was it when you actually found out that you were going to get out?
Oh my God, I didn't think I was. And I remember when the counselors were redoing a bunch of time, and my counselor, this nice black lady, was like, Camarano, you should have been home like a year ago. My points had dropped and they didn't check my paperwork. I never filed because, I was active. I wasn't filing for credit removals, and I didn't want my time back. I was with the homies and I was with my friends, and she's like, oh my God, we got to get you out of here. On the next thing smoking. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you're out of here. You should have been out. They ratified the point system, dropped, and I'm like, whoa, I'm gone.
How was that?
Oh, I was terrified.
To come back out?
Yeah, I was terrified. I only was on level 4. I'm not saying that to brag because level 4s are scary places, but I was only on level 4s. I wasn't in a dorm. I wasn't in a CCF. I wasn't in a fire camp. I was only on level 4s. I was in Southern California's 4s. I hit one level 4 up north, Kern Valley, and the rest were down south. And it's to realize now that I'm going home, like, wow, what do I do? And I'll never forget getting out. My mom picked me up. I gave away all my property to the homies and shit, and I get out, and the first experience I have, I remember, I realized it was PTSD. I hit AM PM, and she goes, go get whatever you want. And when I went to jail, there was Pepsi, Coke, Mountain Dew, root beer, a couple brands. I hit the damn cooler section at AM PM. There's like 6 glass windows of flavors for each brand now, and I'm like, holy shit, what the hell is this? I'll never forget that. There was just so many choices, and I was like scared. And my mom, I'd been in there for 20 minutes. My mom finally, little old lady comes in like, Matt, what are you doing? Let's go home. And I'm like, Mom, there's so many choices. I'm sitting here scared. And she goes, oh my God, are you serious? And I'm like, and I was like, she saw that I was scared. She goes, oh my God, you're serious. I was stuck. I didn't know what to choose. And then I got home and realized I'm wearing my shower shoes in the shower. I'm washing my boxers in the sink.
How long did it take you to?
It took me about a year. But in this year, I also now got back on drugs. I got back on drugs in this year because I was so scared of leaving I turned a room at my mom's house that they had moved out of the valley into the city of Santa Clarita up by Magic Mountain while I was in prison. And I turned this room that she remodeled for me into a prison cell. I had my coffee, every morning, my cup of Folgers. My mom's trying to tell me, hey, there's this new place called Starbucks. You don't have to drink that crap. There's flavors of creamers, and I'm sitting there still with the same old bullshit in my mug that I had tattooed from the joint.
Well, after 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, it was scary. I remember her catching me washing my boxers in the sink. She goes, oh my God, you need counseling. She goes, there's a washer, stop.
Did you end up getting counseling?
I did, but like I said, I started to get back on drugs, and I got back on meth. Meth in those days was still meth. I don't know what the hell is out here now, but I'm so thankful that I'm sober, because I was able to. Back then, you could do meth and do whatever it was. You want to do arts and crafts. You want to do anything weird, sex. You want to do whatever you wanted to do. You could function and do it.
Yeah.
The drugs have evolved so bad now. It's like instantaneous schizophrenia.
Yeah, shit is.
Dude.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's fucking
but I was
crazy.
rotating meth and heroin to keep me calm, because I was starting to get a little bit crazy, and the PTSD was making me isolate. I would have a girl brought over from one of the homies once in a while when I needed to hang out with a woman, and then I just stayed in this room. Music, TV, whatever I wanted was in this room.
No shit.
Yeah, and my drug addiction built, and then it just got worse. I started terrorizing my parents, destroying their home. The new home that they moved into, God bless them for talking to me. I thought I was remodeling their home. I was destroying their home, man. On meth, I was just destroying this home that they bought while I was in jail.
Yeah.
I call myself Tim the Toolman Tweaker Taylor, because I'd be wearing boxers with a tool belt at 3 a.m. and boots on and a bandana with a headlamp, working on the staircase, swinging from the chandelier. There's a bandsaw going at 3 a.m. My neighbors are calling, and there's an app. Little do you know that these neighborhoods have apps called like Nextdoor. All the neighbors communicate with each other on these apps on Facebook, and everyone's pinging, going off. My mom's like, "Wait, all the neighbors, can you turn this off? It's 3 a.m." And I'm like, "Mom, I'm redoing the staircase, Mom." She's like, "No, you're not. You're ruining it." Yeah, it's all bad.
Well, you were on drugs. Like, what were you thinking when
I was just thinking I'm helping my parents. I was under a psychosis with the PTSD of not wanting to leave. I was just under psychosis, not understanding. The meth was melting my brain. I didn't realize it, but it was just ruining my brain.
At what point did you decide to say, that's it?
It took a few years. I mean, I've been out since 2013, so that's 2013 and a half, so that's what, 7, 8, 9, 10 years maybe? I've been out around 10 years, and it took a couple years for me to I got sober in May of 2018, so it took a few years for me to get it. I just started getting more depressed and more crazy, going back and forth from the meth and the heroin, and towards the end, to jump forward to the good part, this is what I like to call the good part. That room had been destroyed, that she remodeled, had remade for me. I broke this room down to the plywood floors, the drywall was off, the graffiti was everywhere, and I was graffitiing this room like a trap house. The second story of my mother's home was turned into a trap house. They wouldn't even come to the staircase, let alone go up the stairs into their own bedroom. They've quit, and they're now living downstairs because of my behavior. So crazy. And I have a Navy pension because I served the Navy before all this. And so my mom had stopped helping me. The enabling mom, out the window. My mom is no longer helping me, other than me having access to maybe food. Yeah. She's like, you got nothing coming. They don't even want me leaving the stairs. So I sneak in and out at night to buy drugs and get back in the house to do drugs. People on the streets are tired of me at this point. People are like, here's $5 of meth, get the fuck out of here. People are so done with me that they would literally just give me drugs to get me away from the drug dealer's house or away from the trap house. Women have stopped talking to me. Nobody wants to be my friend. I'm probably like 120 pounds, but I think I'm good looking, wearing pro clubs that are 2 sizes too big, stretched out. My Vans don't fit anymore, my Chucks, nothing. I look insane. And I'm sneaking in and out at night, terrorizing people. I've ruined her home. My parents are lost for words. I've gotten in 2 physical fights with my dad. I mean, I remember one night I hit my dad from behind with an alarm clock. And I only say it because my sponsor always tells me, you gotta always say that to remember it. And I remember hitting my dad over the psychosis. I thought he was hooking up with my girlfriend. And my dad I remember him telling me, you haven't had a girlfriend for years. What are you talking about? Yeah. But in my head, I thought I heard some noise or something triggered me to make me think my father was hooking up, who's been married for 50 something years, hooking up with my girlfriend, who the girl I was thinking was in Philadelphia, in another state in Pennsylvania. And I can remember hitting every time I say it, I remember hitting him with this alarm clock from behind. And my dad, when I close my eyes, I can see him turn his face around and look at me. And he went through every single emotion that like a grown-up can go through. When he turns around and he just got cracked with an alarm clock, and it's his son, and he's like, I saw fear, anger, hurt, sadness, depression, all of these emotions. My dad's like, and then he's grabbing his head and he's bleeding. He's like, what the fuck? And he's not, mind you, he's not scared of me either. There's no fear in him, but he's just like, what? He's just done. That look of just being through and done. My dad's just like, I don't even want, like, just get away from, like, I don't even know how to respond. Mind you, any other dude would have cracked me or rushed me, but my father was just, all those emotions, I can never get them out of my head. When I close my eyes, sometimes I can still see it. And I think that was like the last couple of days where I went back up to that room, I was like, you know, you come to brief moments of, like I snapped back to it. Even under the influence, I snapped back to it. Walking up those stairs was like the worst walk of shame ever, and I realized what I had done.
Fuck.
And yeah, exactly, fuck. Like, man, I just hit my dad. For the second time in my life, I've hit my dad under the influence, and my dad was just done. And I kind of knew, like, man, I could be arrested, I could go to jail. I didn't even care. I went back up in that room, and I had some meth left, and I was doing meth. I started to do the meth, and I'm crying. And I remember this room, again, is broken down. There's a mattress. Like, if you can picture a crack house, that room, I call it that damn room. Because it was like hell. You could feel the negative. You could literally feel the negative energy. There's porn. I have a little portable DVD player with a laptop. There's porn constantly streaming on this TV because I'm stuck in this drug psychosis. There's a sweaty mattress with a pile of dirty clothes on the mattress that when I don't fall asleep, mind you. It's been weeks since I slept. I just pass out and come to. And there's clean clothes that are on another pile on the floor. There's like 2 candles burned. I've ripped the electronics, the electricity's been ripped out of the walls in this room. There's a ceiling fan, I think, hanging. The wires are loose. Every kind of like fire hazard or construction hazard is available in this room. Like OSHA would come in and take my parents out of their home with a psychological evaluation team to remove me. There's graffiti. Like I said, imagine just adult movies on the TV, trash, filth, sweat, some nice clothes that I think they're hanging in whatever's left of a closet, and there's needles everywhere. I started putting the needles I poked holes in the drywall, and I'm shoving these needles. After I squirt out whatever blood and residues left after I inject with it, there's squirted blood and DNA all over the walls. In my mind, I think I'm creating a masterpiece on these walls, and I'm shoving these needles in the wall. And I remember when I finally got sober, not to jump ahead, but when they opened up these walls, when they finally repaired the room, my mom sent me pictures when I was in rehab. There was thousands. I'm talking thousands of needles that were just coming out. The construction guys, the paisas that came to work on their house were like, oh my God, they're sitting in the room praying. Like Jesus in Spanish, like, oh my God, they're lighting candles and praying in this room because the needles and the blood. Yeah. There was so much. My mom said they needed push brooms to get rid of how many. And she goes, I don't even know how someone survives that. So to jump back after I'm putting these needles, I remember I had been praying. After I hit my dad, I was praying. I think it might have lasted 2 weeks, I think. I thought it was, about 2 weeks. I'm praying to Jesus and to Odin. I believe in Jesus, and I also believe in my Viking heritage, so I don't care. It bugs some people, but oh well.
It shouldn't.
Some people get weird with it, but oh well. Jesus died for me. I know he did. And I'm praying to him. I'm praying to Odin. One of you guys, I don't care which one of you, help me. I don't know how to do it for myself. I can't. I'm not strong enough. I can't help myself. I need help, please. I'm praying for 2 weeks as I'm injecting. For some reason, like most drug addicts, their veins will stop. They're collapsing. They have to find new ones. For some reason, mine are not. The last day, I'm doing this for 2 weeks, and I've been praying every day. I remember I did 17 shots of meth. One on my privates, one on my neck. None of it's working. That's what I started to notice on this last day. I've injected enough methamphetamine and heroin back and forth probably to kill a horse. Probably about as much as Kurt Cobain had when he died. There's so much drugs I've injected, and it's not working. And the last one I did, I remember putting the needle down and being, what the fuck, getting mad. I can't even get high. Are you going to take me getting high from me now? Like, I'm done. What do you want? And then I'm finally, oh my God, stupid, you've been asking for this. And I finally, I start crying, and I'm realizing, oh my God, I've been waiting for this. I've been asking all you guys to help me, and it's here. It's not working. So when I finally snapped out of it, and I realized that this was happening, I remember I pounded on the door, and I rustled over the door, and I opened the door, and the door just falls. At this point, I've ruined the room so that when I open the door just falls. And I come to the stairs, I'm like, Mom, I'm ready. And my mom just troops her little ass up those stairs and like, are you ready? Are you serious? Like, it's almost like she knew.
Yeah.
And she goes, let's do it. Let's get you help. And my mom moved me out of the room, put me downstairs on this couch. And, you know, remember the old school homes where they have the living room with the TV, but they also have that family room that you're not allowed in? When you're a kid, don't go in mom's room. You don't go in this room right here. This is for sitting when company comes. She moves me into that room, the nice room, buys me a new TV because she tells me anything to do with all this filthy behavior is trash. It's all got to go. Mm-hmm. So she buys me and goes to Big Lots and or Walmart, gets me a little baby TV, a little DVD player, buys me a stack of cool DVDs. We get on the couch, and I knew I was going to go through it. With heroin and meth, the meth detox for me, I tell people, was horrible. I had a harder time kicking meth than I did heroin. Or maybe it was both of them back to back, but the detox was hard. She buys me a bottle of alcohol every day a new bottle. She goes, I don't want to encourage you drinking, but you're going to need this to get through this. Mm-hmm. And we make calls. She gets me on a waiting list for a detox. Now, a lot of people think you just go to rehab. It's not that easy. You have to go on a waiting list. You have to wait. You have to be medically cleared. You have to wait for a bed to open up. And I had about a 2-week wait.
And a lot of times, people just give up in that waiting time.
That's the problem. People give up. Well, I didn't for some reason. I didn't. I stayed on that couch. I drank every day. And I stayed on that couch watching movies. I watched, all the Fast and Furious. I know those movies by heart. But
was it physically painful?
Yeah, I had sweats, I had diarrhea, I was throwing up. Many nights I ran to the door to leave, and then for some reason though, I was always able to catch myself. Mm-hmm. And I said, nah, it's not gonna, I can't do it anymore. And I was delirious, I was sick, I would sleep, I would wake up, I would eat, she would make me food. Like, all I had to do was make that choice, and my mom was back on my team, invested. Because I put her through enough hell she watched me hit my dad. I don't even know why. She still should have not helped me. She still should have said, get the fuck out of here.
That's your mom, though.
Yeah, but I still think, like, man, dude, I hit my dad. Like, I can never...
Have you talked to your dad now?
Yeah, he came to my birthday party, my sober party. I just hit 5 years last month.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And he told me, finally got to tell me, when he saw all my friends at my birthday party, he was like, man, now this is the dude I always wanted to see. Mm-hmm. He goes, he goes, I'm proud of you now. I'm finally proud of you. And I think he told me once, and I tried to tell him, when I got sober, I did my steps. Mm-hmm. And I had to do my steps and make an amends. And I remember telling him, and he was receptive, and he listened to me, and he said, thank you.
What about the conversation with your mom? Was that harder to have than with your dad?
No, it was easy. Talking to my mom's always been easy. Mm-hmm. She was really receptive. She was happy. My mom's sober now, too. She drinks. She would get a little crazy when she drinks, and she's got like almost... 17 months sober finally too. Nice. Yeah.
Did she start drinking because of...
No, she's always been a drinker. Ever since I was a kid, she's always been a drinker.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that had nothing to do with you just saying...
No, I'm sure I increased it a little bit. My behavior, I'm sure, increased it. And my dad actually has resentments on that towards me also, that hopefully he'll be able to let go of one day. He blames a lot of my behavior for encouraging her drinking, and that actually robbed them of probably so many years in a good relationship. Now they're good, but her drinking was a little bit rough on my dad.
So the relationship now is better than before?
Better, yeah. Yep.
That's good. That's good. Anything else that you would like to talk about? Do you want to talk some more about your son, though? Because you didn't really get to touch.
We can. I just hope that he hears this one day and has a sit down with me. And I know I can't be his dad because I lost that. And those two other guys that were there, they got that. There was one guy, and his mom hooked up with another guy, got married, I think, finally. And he had two, from what I understand, he had two good men in his life. And I don't ever want to take that because they earned that.
But you got to understand that it's never too late.
Yeah, I know.
And also, regardless of whether they were good to him or not, you are his actual father.
Yeah.
And it's just going to take him some time to actually just say, hey, Dad. Just like it happened with you.
Man, if he said that, I don't even know what I would do if he said that.
Hey, Dad, I'm ready.
I hope so. But I respect his choices either.
And I think at that point, you're going to understand what your mom felt when you said, I'm ready.
That's amazing. I would love to. I'll wait for that.
Any message you would like to give to your son?
I guess I could say that I always loved you. And I just wanted to do what I thought was best at that moment. And if you knew how I was back then, I would hope you would understand. Because I wasn't even a good person for the city, let alone for myself, nor was I ready to be a dad. And it wasn't you personally, it was me and the life I was living.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate you, and we would love to just continue checking up on you.
Yeah, I would
to make
love
sure, and I would love to hear, hey, you know what, my son, he's back on board.
I think hopefully he will be.
You have how many social medias that people can contact you?
I have a TikTok, but I don't understand it. I have it, but I don't know how to. I have it. I think it's the same as my Instagram. I have Instagram as my big one. That's what I work on. Mohawk Matt _SFV, and I have a Facebook, Matt Camarano. But
and you're part of which clothing line?
Sullen. I work for Sullen. Sullen's my home. It's my family. That's my team.
Any upcoming things coming
this
up?
weekend? We got Friday through Sunday. We're in Ventura at the Seaside Convention.
Nice. You just came back from another convention.
We just came back from Freddie Negretti's Incon, which was amazing.
Was
best
it?
one, yeah. Best
3 days,
one.
no?
Yeah, 3 days. It was beautiful.
And you just got a new piece.
I got like 4 this weekend.
Was this the most painful one?
No, it wasn't even really painful. Carlos, shout out to Carlos from Cryptic.
Shout out to Carlos.
Love this. Yep, forgiven. Yeah.
So is it swollen now, or?
Yeah, it's swollen. It's still healing.
Oh, because it's in one of those spots where.
Well, because I'm already talking and I'm eating and it gets wet. Yeah, but I've wanted it for so long and Carlos made it happen.
Nice. That's dope. Yeah, you have a lot of work.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you once again for coming on to the show. You guys, this is Maken Changes.